A few moments later.
Biography of Alessandro Volta. Alessandro Volta, born in February 18, 1745, Como, Lombardy, Italy, died March 5, 1827 in Como, was an Italian physicist whose invention of electric battery provided the first source of continuous current. His father, Filippo Volta, and his mother, Donna Maddalena, came from prominent families. Volta became professor of physics at the Royal School of Como in 1774. In 1775, his interest in electricity led him to improve the electric force, a device used to generate static electricity. His dis- he discovered and isolated methane gas in 1776. 3 years later, he was appointed to the chair of physics at the University of Pavia. As a child, Volta displayed a keen interest in the sciences, achieving notable academic success despite his family's initial aspiration for him to become a physicist. Volta demonstrated a proclivity for scientific inquiry, particularly in the domain of electricity. He spent his formative years in Brunette, residing with a craftsman named Ludovico Monti, who crafted barometers. His milieu likely fortressed his inquisitiveness and affinity for scientific apparatus. He spent the first years of his life in Brunette, in the house of artisan Ludovico Monti, manufacturer of barometer. His was a rather worrying childhood because his linguistic development was so late that it was feared he might become a mute, but slowly he managed to speak fluently by the age of 7. After the After a private elementary education, at the age of 13, he attended the school of the Jesuit fathers in Como, and later his uncle Alessandro, who took care of the boy's education after his father's death, sent him to the seminary. Father Girolamo Bonesi attempts to steer him towards priesthood, revealed himself useless, as well as his uncle effort to make him study law. At the very young age of 7, he had fatally started to show a great interest in natural phenomena, to the extent that Exensius to find some bright blades of straw which, according to the local farmers, were supposed to be made of gold. He almost drowned in the Monteverdi spring around Camnego.
A few moments later.
Voltaire read the works of the great science of the time, and at the age of only 18, he expressed his own thoughts through some letters addressed to Noylet and Beccaria. Thus proving to be already well acquainted with the topics he discussed and possessed a unique spirit of observation. He carried out his first studies on electricity between 1962 until 1965, and his first electrostatic experiments, for which he needed only a few objects of little value, thread, silk, and woolen cloth, resin, and silver pieces. From 1765 and for many years later, Volta used the laboratory that his childhood friend Gattoni built in his own house and generously made available to him. He, ambici- he ambitiously compared himself with the European culture of the time and with the great minds that represented in the science field, thus direct contact and exchange with other schools. When he was only 24 years old, he wrote his first memoirs, The Attractive Agnes Electric Sea, Ag Phenomenis Independentibus. In 1774, he started teaching of superintendent or ruler of public schools in Como. The following year, he became ordinary professor of experimental physics in the Gymnasium of Como. In 1777, he traveled for the first time with scientific purposes to Switzerland, Alsace, and Savoy. Setting off in the company of Count Giovio, he brought along physics tools to detect altitude, barometric pressures, and the quality of the air, and magnet for the search of iron minerals, beside obviously all the tools recently invented by himself. In 1778, he obtained the new chair of experimental physics at the University of Pavia. Following the discovery of the native air of the marshes, he invented a series of tools and devices, among which the so-called voltage pistol and the musket that, it is told, he used it to go hunting birds in the area of Campora around Como. Between 1781 until 1782, he traveled across Europe through Savoy, Switzerland, Germany, Belgium, Holland, France, and England. In 1784, in Germany and Austria, always trying to find new tools and to put in contact scientists from two states. After his return, he was nominated Dean of the University of Pavia for the academic year 1785 until 1786. Alessandro Volta married Maria Teresa Alonso Peregrini in 1794. Later, Zanindo, Flaminio, and Luigi were born from their marriage.
A few moments later.
On 20 March 1800, Volta sent Mr. Joseph Banks a long letter which was read a gathering still renewed today of the Royal Society, where he announced the invention of the artificial electric organ, only later called pile, and presented as the retraction of the natural electric origin of the electric ray. In 1801, the device was presented at a gathering that took place at the Institut de France in Paris, attended by Napoleon and by request of the latter. Volta received a golden medal. Later, he was Alessandro Volta's wife nominated Chevalier of the Legion of Honor 1805, Chevalier of the Italian Order of the Iron Crown 1809, member of the Senate of the Kingdom of the Italy 1809, and then Count of the Kingdom of Italy 1810. After Napoleon's fall, he was involved in a political fight in Milan, and he barely managed to escape the violence of the Austrian rebels 1814. The Austrian Restoration 1814 and 1815 wasn't much of a problem for him. The government of Vienna sent him back to Pavia as director of the University Study of Philosophy. He permanently retired from public life in 1890. He died after short illness on March 5, 1827 at the age of 82. That's all of our group. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.